Welcome everybody. Here we are at session 1 of Raising Energy session, 1 of 6. We're going to tease it out by playing around with the 5 elements. So let's get started. And you'll find that I'll give you simple things to do, and I'll talk you through it while we're doing it, and we'll see what happens. So first thing I want you to do is separate your feet about 4 to 6 inches apart. Okay, and then ever so slightly, think about micro movements, is ever so slightly put a little bend on your knee. And when you put a very slight bend on your knee, it frees up the knee joint, and then you start to naturally sway. You'll find yourself coming more into your feet. Your weight's coming into your feet, you're grounding yourself, and you start to come into your center of gravity. So to begin to explore that is we want to then find the 4 corners of our feet. So as you sway, you're swaying around the 4 corners of your feet. So the outside of your heel, the little toe, the big toe, the inside of your heel, and you're just swaying around. And then keep doing that. Okay, and then we'll get off with start talking about why we're doing what we're doing and getting into the energetics of it. So first thing is, when we soften our knees, is we center ourselves. We're beginning to ground the body. So we're connecting the body into the earth. And then notice I'm doing little small adjustments in my feet so that I'm making sure I can feel the 4 corners of my feet. So if you like my adjustment there was so I could feel the inside of my right heel a little bit more. So just check that you're able to connect to the whole pad of the foot, and the heel of the foot, the sole of the foot. And what I'm doing is that I'm adjusting my connection to the ground, the earth. So the earth element is very important for energy and the connection of it. Now, why so? Okay, keeping the sway while we're doing it, while we're talking, stay in the sway, is very simply is, if you think about gravity is drawing us down towards the earth. Is the reason why we don't get squashed is because there's a subtle rebound energy. So if you look at the Earth's atmosphere, is that we live in that atmosphere, and that is directly affected by the force of gravity. And we're directly affected by it externally and then internally. So if you can imagine a tree has to grow down, it has to grow roots before it can grow up. A bird has to push down before it lifts up. So there's that rooting down energy to get the rise, the lift coming back up. In yoga terms, it's commonly known as root and rise. And you're rooting down, so you're resting down through your bones, and then you're lifting up through your muscles. And you're creating a state of yield within yourself. You come to the full length of your body. You come into the natural integrity of your body. And there's a spring in that. And the more you can get into the energetics of that, is that kicks off the energetics of the body, and we're engaging with the elements. Okay, so we're swaying. I'm going to talk you a little bit more through it. Just notice now how you're already starting to feel the soles of your feet connect more into the floor. They're more grounded. They're more earthed. But at the same time, look, you're swaying. And you're swaying around your center of gravity. What does that mean? Is that you have all of your body moving as one. So all of your body is in the sway. And then what's happening is that part of your center of gravity is that you'll feel 2 basic sensations. You're going to feel pressure, tone, and then you'll feel the release of that tone. And that's exactly what a muscle does. So when I shorten this muscle, is I'm lengthening this muscle. When I'm shortening this muscle, I'm lengthening that muscle. So as I sway around my center of gravity, is I can feel my muscles tone, and as I go to this side, these muscles release a little bit. So I'm bringing my body into that spontaneous engagement of itself. So notice, you can feel your calf muscles, you can feel your thighs, your inner thighs, your hamstrings, your glutes, is you can feel all those muscles engage, but yet you're not consciously tensing one of them, but they're spontaneously toning and then releasing. So you're getting that lovely sense of tone and then release. And again, this is in the flow. So with regard to the elements, there's the physicalness of the earth element and the rooting, and then here's the flow element. We're flowing around their center of gravity, and we're layering the earth and the water together. No different than how water flows on earth. It's the same thing. we're now flowing on the earth, and we're flowing through the fluidity of our own bodies, our own natural flow state, getting into the energetics of it. It's super duper. So that's what we're doing. But gravity is a very big effect on it, because you get the rooting down. So again, it's the ability to draw energy down, and then the rising up. It's the ability to raise energy up, and then there's the opening out. And again, this is the atmosphere we're in, the inner atmosphere of my body, and then there's the layers of that. So if you think about it, when I go through my layers of skin, is now I'm into my muscles, I'm into my connective tissue, my fascia. So the muscles, they tone and they release. So I'm bringing myself back into that natural integrity, that spontaneous body. So we're getting into that. So part of what we've got to talk about along the way is inhibitions. Why? Is no different than taking things off. Inhibition is again, it's a transparency, a freedom, if that makes sense. Is think about your body and the positions you normally hold it in. So we hold ourselves in certain positions as we go about our day. And the body can get locked into positions, shoulders can get tight, lower back can get tight, abdominals can get weak. So different parts of the body, some will tighten up like a shield, and other parts of the body will loosen out and soften, so that we can get caught into the body moving in a limited amount of ways. Now, if you think about, I'm going to get into this, look at all the joints, look at all the muscles, everything's a lever. Everything's a lever that moves around in circles. All the body moves in circles. All the joints are an expression of a circle. So it's circles and levers. Does that make sense? Circles and levers. And that's very much the body understands that. Now, how many shapes can the body make? And think about a shape as my inner body, my inner space. How many different spaces can my body express? Can it move into? There's an infinite amount. So now what happens if the body just gets used to doing the two shuffle? The body's just two shuffling on the dance floor, so to speak. Is there's only a certain amount of energy in the two shuffle, where the infinite amount of energy is in the infinite amount of spaces that the body can move into. So the willingness to be uninhibited is to let go of our inhibitions and to allow the body to be freely in its expression and its movement. Now you're opening up the space and moving into the energetics, if that makes sense. So there's got to be a willingness for you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. So you're making shapes you wouldn't normally do, is using your body in ways that you might not normally be used to, that you're exploring the space. Now it's nothing crazy. You don't need to do crazy stuff. It's just exploring. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? It's little things. It's not big things. And you'd start off from what you're familiar with and what you're used to, and then you're just exploring and just seeing where that space is. Why? Why would you do that? Well, this course is about raising energy. So if you think about this, is life abhors a vacuum. So what that basically means is that anytime space opens up, life flows into it, if that makes sense. So now any space that you open up in your body, a new space, like you never moved in a particular way, now you move that particular way, your body feels a new type of energy. It feels more energy. So that the more you find yourself moving spontaneously in your inner space and then moving into new spaces, you're tapping into more energy. And then you're opening up space and energy is rising. So there you go. It's really simple. Energy starts to rise simply by you moving your body in new spaces. Super. It's that simple. But now there's lots to it. There's lots of fun to be had in this. Like if you think of your body, you go in. We talked about the skin, but then the muscles, the fascia, the connective tissue. It's like a white of an orange. So the fascia can get tight and rigid and hold itself in a particular shape. So while you're working your muscles to work in your body to develop your body, is if you're not working on the fascia, is the fascia can be rigidly trying to hold you in a position while your muscles are fighting against your fascia, if that makes sense. So you got to work on the fascia. So a simple one here. Look at my knees. What I'm doing with that little bend on my knee, what I'm doing is I'm springing through my knee joint. I'm not mechanically bouncing up and down. See this here? I'm not bending the knee up and down. I'm springing through the knee joint. Okay, so I want you to do that. A little spring through the knee joint. Now, it's a small, again, think about micro movement. It's a micro movement, and then there's a vitality to it. There's a bounce to it, but it's really a springing through the knee joint. And what you're doing is you're starting to spring and bounce in your fascia, your connective tissues, not just the muscles, it's the fascia itself. And the fascia has its own integrity, and it's a bit springy, if that makes sense. And that's why kids, when they're younger, they've got that natural bounce and vitality. So when the fascia starts to get rigid and thicker, that's the thing that part of what we lose our springiness, our ability to be mobile and free in the body. So I want you to keep gently bouncing in that. Now I'm still swaying around the four corners of the feet, so I'm still in it, I'm still swaying, but I'm gently bouncing through my knee joint. I'm springing in the knee joint. And again, you've got the connective tissue, you've got your muscles, you've got your ligaments, and again, they're stronger, but they have a little bit of a spring in them, a subtle little bit of spring. I'm not compounding. I'm not doing any compounding drills. There's none of that going on. It's much more subtle. It's lovely and bouncy. And even doing this, you start to feel the energy. But you're also starting to feel your feet much more firmly in the ground. So now you're going deeper into the earth. You're going to feel your body work more. Just notice how the leg muscles are toning more. But yet, not once have I asked you to tense a muscle. But look, you're still in the fluidity. I'm still in the tone and release of my muscles, but yet they're toning more firmly, and they're also releasing more deeply, and I'm more grounded. I'm moving deeper into my flow, if that makes sense. So again, keep exploring, keep playing around with it. Now this can get very creative as we go along, but I'm teasing out the principles of it with you, how gravity has its effect, how it affects everything. And then within our environment, we've got our 5 elements. There's the earth, the water, the fire, the air, and the ether. So we want to engage with those elements. Equally, we want to engage in those elements in our own body. So we've got our skin. We feel the skin, you got the energy on the skin, you got the energy in the muscles and joints, in the fascia. And now notice, I stopped myself there because I was going, oh, don't give it the next part of that is the central nervous system. I'm mindful not to run off and I'm mindful not to waffle. I can waffle a lot on this, so I'm trying to give it systematic. But ultimately, the muscles, the fascia, the joints, and really what we're looking to get into is the central nervous system. So I'll talk about that in a little while, yeah? But the central nervous system is, look at the shape of your body. Imagine you take off your skin. You can take off your muscles, take off your fascia, take off the bones, and all the internal organs, and all you had was your central nervous system. What you would see is the shape of your body as a nervous system. Now, think about all the strings of the central nervous system like an instrument, like a guitar, and you just start to strum the strings. And then think about the instrument that it is the most complicated, but also the most free-flowing instrument you could ever imagine. And we're just playing the instrument, if that makes sense. But we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about that later. You can see, I said I wouldn't talk about it, and here I am because it's just a lovely conversation. But we'll get to it. So now look at the earth, your feet. You feel the groundedness in your legs, your thighs, your calves, your hamstrings, your glutes. Now, how's the heat? Getting warm? Of course you are. You feel the heat coming in because we're heating up the body. We're generating heat and we're fluidly flowing in that heat. So now think about what heat is. Heat expands and heat contracts. When heat increases, it expands. When heat decreases, it contracts. Okay, so now it's the ability to expand and contract. So look at my movements. I'm expanding and then I'm contracting. I'm expanding and then I'm contracting. I'm expanding up and I'm expanding down. I'm flowing up and then I'm flowing down. I'm rooting down and now I'm rooting up. So now think about the ability to engage with the earth element, where I feel the earth on the mat, but if I start pushing out like this with my hands, I can feel the earth in my hands and all the way through my body. And the reason being, and we play around with it, look at your hand. What I want you to do is straighten your fingers and take them a little bit apart so you feel a tone in your hand. Now keep that tone. But now what I want you to do is mimic the tone in your feet and the tone in your hands. So use your intuition. Whatever the tone is in your feet, mimic it in your hands. And remember, your feet are firmly in the floor. You feel the rootedness, the earthedness. Now take that same tone of connection and bring it into your hands. So you can see I'm doing the bounce. I'm bouncing a bit deeper now because I'm bringing it all the way through my body, just so you can see the earthedness of it. Okay, now if we're in a club, you'd be going, you what? You what? You what? You what? You what? Because it brings the energy up. That's why people start to, it brings it into the throat, you know. Again, remember, we talked about inhibitions. Is you gotta let them out a little bit. Is I'm assuming you're at home or you're somewhere in a bit of privacy. You know, is again, think about the inhibitions. Is put them down a little bit. Is don't be shy about exploring your body a little bit more, exploring the space, exploring the energies. And there is an intimacy to it. So you got to be willing to explore the intimacy of it. Is you're taking the earth element and you're consciously bringing it into your hands. Is it's a direct experience. There's a direct feeling and connection to it. So let yourself be in that. Don't be thinking about it too hard. Just be in the experience of it. Okay? So now this is one point I'm trying to make, is that when I move my hand like this, is I'm moving that earth element. So now I'm moving the earth element in my body. Does that make sense? If I was teaching you or taking you through postures, more traditional yoga postures, I'm talking about lines of force. Lines of force where the earth element runs right through my arm all the way to my core. My lines of force from my feet all the way through to my core. Does that make sense? And really what I'm doing is I'm bouncing my spine and I'm bringing the earth element into my spine, and I'm opening up my vertebrae and I'm bringing the earth element right into my central nervous system. So I'm grounding myself in my central nervous system and I'm pumping the earth. When I pump the earth, it pumps the energy of the earth. So now think about the earth you're standing on. How big is it? How sturdy is it? How powerful is it? So the more you get into the earth element, you really feel the power of it. It's super duper. Now again, I'm assuming what I'm talking to you here, you're playing around with this. You know, is don't wait for me to tell you what to do. Is if you see what I'm doing, is a bit of Simon Says. Just give it a go. See what I'm talking you through it. Can you feel it? Can you feel what I'm saying? But then you might be doing this while I'm doing this. You might be doing that. It doesn't really matter. Once you're in it, that's all that matters. Okay, so again, no letting go of the hands. Even when I'm doing this, because I'm keeping that tone in my hands, I'm staying in the earth element. I'm staying in it. Staying it in my feet, staying with it in my hands, and it mimics itself in my arms and my legs. Okay, so let's bring the hands down to the side, but keep the tone in the hands. Let's give the arms a little rest for a moment. Let's talk about why talk about these lines of force, Roy. How does that work? So look, you're bouncing, still in the bouncing knee. Notice how firm and connected your feet are. Notice that lovely connection in your legs. Now with your pelvis, is what I want you to do is send your tailbone down slightly. Okay? Think about the back of the pelvis here. Here's the tailbone. I want you to send the tailbone. Think sending your tailbone down slightly. It ever so slight. It's like a very micro pelvic tuck. A very micro. And what it does is that it draws your pelvic floor up. It tones your abdominal wall simply by the position you're in. So notice as you're bouncing through your knees, you can actually bounce in your pelvic floor. So when you feel the arches of your feet bounce, is you feel your pelvic floor tone, and you're bouncing in your pelvic floor all the way to your core. You get that lovely tone. So now you're coming through your lines of force, through the pelvic floor, right into the core itself. The only way you might not be feeling it is that if you're leaning too much in your heels, you'll feel your glutes get tight. Come a little bit more onto the pads of the feet, the length of the toes. Feel the arches work, feel the thighs work. Check the level pelvis. There's your pelvic floor. Now you're just bouncing in your pelvic floor. And again, you're getting into the locks of the body. You'll find your perineum, if you're familiar with it, will draw up as well. It's a little bit more of a subtle practice. Won't be doing that in this course, but in later courses we'll refine that. So here we are, bouncing through our core already. And we're again bringing that earth element right into the core of the body. So again, the heat's rising. Okay, we got to breathe. So now what I want you to do is come back into your sway, ease off on the bounce. Okay, ease off on the bounce. But as you sway through your feet, I want you to keep swaying as well. Think about the ball and socket joints. Sway with awareness of the ball and socket joints. Sway with the awareness of your pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor is engaged because of the position of your stability of your feet and the stability of your hip. So now as you sway through the soles of your feet, sway through the ball and socket joint, sway through your pelvic floor, and again, feeling the trunk of your body work. And again, notice how you sway a little deeper. You're deeper in the flow of things. You're deeper into the heat of things. Now let's bring in a bit more sense of expansion and contraction. So what I want you to do is focus a little bit on your breathing. Remember to keep the hands a little engaged. Now, I said down by your side, but again, if you find the hands floating up, go for it. As you see, I'm talking to you and my hands are spontaneously just moving. So play it as it does for you, yeah? So your breath, I want you to inhale and focus a little bit on your navel. Don't worry about how much. Feel a little bit of movement in your navel, a little bit of movement in the intercostal muscles, and a little bit of movement in your upper chest. So I want you to feel all three on the inhale, all three on the exhale. Doesn't matter how much, just that you feel them. So even if it's a shallow breath, you can still shallowly breathe on all three. And then everything in between, from a deep breath in between that. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting, is the pace of your breath. Have it mimic the pace of your sway, your center of gravity. Have it mimic it. Because your center of gravity has a pace that's spontaneous. You can tone the muscles and release the muscles spontaneously. So when you begin to breathe at the same pace, notice you're swaying from foot to foot. It's like a pendulum. You're inhaling and exhaling like a pendulum. Have your breath and your sway, your center of gravity, move in that same motion of pendulum. Don't think about it too much, just feel it. And you're coming deeper into your inner sense of your center. You're coming into your inner body and your inner center of gravity. You're coming through the layers of your skin, through the layers of your fascia and muscles, getting right into the joints, right into the central nervous system, the spine of the central nervous system itself. And you're going to do it through your breath. Now, see the tone in your hands? Your lungs are muscles. They're actually muscles. Now think of your lungs, the muscles of your lungs, like a pair of hands that are going to massage your inner body. This is really important. Pressure and then release. That's what a massage is. Somebody leans on you a little bit, they lean their weight on, and the hands go up your back, and then as the hands come down the back, they gently ease the weight off. Pressure and then release. Is your lungs do that for your body, inhaling a bit of pressure, exhaling release. Your heart, clippity clop, it's pressure and release. Your whole body works on pump and release. There's lots of valves in the body. Pressure, release, pressure, release, pressure, release. The body understands that intrinsically. It naturally understands it. So now when you slow your breathing down enough that you can feel your breathing, what I want you to do is begin to feel the tone of your breath, the tone of your lungs, and the tone of your lungs is now massaging your inner body. So when your lungs expand, they press down on the diaphragm, that presses on the internal organs, that presses on the muscles of the trunk of the body, and again, it's a pressure like a massage. Your intercostals are going to expand, they're going to elongate, it's going to open up the rib cage all the way through to the back, and as you breathe to your upper lungs, you find that lovely openness in the upper chest. You get that lovely sense of expansion and contraction. And then it's not a surprise that the breath cools the body down, it controls the heat. Now, if you get more specific with it, the body can channel the heat through the breath. So it gets very, very powerful in its ability to expand and contract, and then go into a part of the body and expand and contract what you're feeling. Expand and contract the muscle, open up the energy. Expand and contract any part of the body. So now let's just begin to massage, inhaling and exhaling. Use the tone of your feet and have your hands mimic the tone of your feet. Use the tone of your hands to mimic the tone on your lungs. So have your lungs mimic the tone of your hands. So you're breathing a bit slower and a bit deeper. And look, you're beginning to move. Look how much the earth comes into your movements. Look how much it comes in. That the lines of force start to activate themselves, and it starts to activate the trunk, the hips, the trunk, the rib cage, the throat, and you really begin to feel that you're moving your spine. And again, I'm playing around with it here, is you're really moving the trunk and the spine of the body. You're working from the inside out. I'm exaggerating it so you can see it, so that your movements and your breath are syncing up, and you're just embodying the earth element more and more. You're drawing that earth element right into your breath and your lungs themselves, and then you're breathing that earth element and you're massaging. Super duper. It's really, really nice. It doesn't matter what movements you do, just notice that if you move freely, it actually feels really, really nice. I'm just playing around with it here. You get a good sense of it. Now I'm talking in a way, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but I'm actually talking in a way where, look at the tone of my voice, look at the pace that I'm speaking at. Is I'm using the same tone in the way I speak, is the way I would be breathing as if I'm talking it through this. And I'm lengthening out my breath, I'm lengthening out what I'm saying, so that I'm going deeper into my lungs, and I'm meeting. So the words I'm speaking are coming from the consciousness of that earth element. I'm talking from the ground, I'm communicating from the ground, I'm in the ground is in my voice, it's coming through. So you immerse yourself more and more into the different elements. Okay, it's super duper. So now, I get you to sway. And what I want you to do now is ever so slightly slow your breathing down. Just to remember micro movements, slow it down a little bit. And the reason being is I want you to control your physical center of gravity through the physical connection in your breath. So I want you to breathe the pace. I want you to breathe the tone. So the tone in your lungs is guiding the sway in your body. Tone in your lungs is guiding the sway in your body. And then let your eyes close. Now as you do that, what I want you to do is now let your hands Sway with the tone, same tone as your lungs, the same tone as your feet. Let your hands sway and freely. That's a small sway. We do big sweeping motions. Think about micro movements, these small subtle sways where you just feel yourself just breathing the lovely waves of connection in your body. These waves of physical connection, these waves of energetic connection, and then just allowing yourself to find that lovely sense of expansion and contraction. So now keep doing what you're doing, but what I want you to do is I want you to micro float in your knees. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can open your eyes for a second and look at what I'm doing. Is you're micro floating in your knees. So I'm putting a micro bend in my knee, but I'm floating up and down in that bend of the knee. I'm expanding in it and I'm contracting. And then I'm floating and expanding my hands and contracting my hands. I'm breathing my rib cage and I'm contracting in my rib cage. I'm expanding my inner body and contracting. And I'm just allowing myself to be in the heat of it, the expansion of it. But I'm still connected to the physicalness. I'm still flowing in it. But now there's this lovely sense of expansion and contraction. And again, it's that lovely waves expanding and contracting. And I'm constantly grounded, constantly in my center of gravity, and my muscles and my body is just naturally toning and releasing. It is gorgeous. And then breathing and then releasing. So you're guiding it all through your expansion in your breath and contraction in your breath. It's super nice, really, really nice. So keep floating in that. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about a couple of things, inhibitions, the central nervous system and the chakras, and then we'll bring in a bit of lightness and the ether, and that will probably be the end of today's section. So inhibitions is already, notice how many new spaces you found yourself moving in. Nothing crazy, just I never move my body this way. I never move my body that way. What would happen if you allowed yourself to move your body in new spaces every day? Just you found that if you move spontaneously in your body, just in the way you go about your day, that when you found yourself moving in new spaces, that it gave you more energy. Simply because you stayed in your center of gravity. When you're standing, you're staying in your center of gravity. When you're sitting, you're on your sit bones, you're still in your center of gravity, you're still in your breath, you're still in physical engagement, you're flowing in it, you get that lovely expansion and contraction. It just feels really nice, and you just find yourself doing subtle little things that you wouldn't normally have done. A little thing. Look, I'm playing around with my head here. Just a little thing. Just any time you feel the body wants a release or needs a bit of space, you find yourself spontaneously doing it. Really what I'm trying to say, it's like having original thoughts every day. Is you're experiencing original spaces in your body every day. Nothing complicated, just very simple stuff. It might even be a space that you're used to, that you're new one, that you're playing out, but then you bring it with you. You bring it into the rooms of your life. And because it's in a different room, it's a new experience in a different room. Then there's other people in your life, there's situations in your life, all the things that are part of your life, that you brought this new space in. And every time you bring the new space into a new situation, you experience it a little differently. There's an originality to it. And you're just keeping yourself engaged in that spontaneity of your natural center of gravity, the naturalness of your body, the authenticity of your body. And you begin to layer the elements into your life experience. You're communicating through the elements. We all do it whether we realize it or not. The elements are us. Everything outside of us are the elements. Our connection to the elements and how we engage with them is a lot about our non-verbal communication. Because what we say is one thing, but where we're saying it from is another thing. And am I saying it from a grounded place? Or am I saying it from an ungrounded place? Am I saying it from a place of fluidity and openness? Or Or am I saying it from a place of rigidity and stuckness? Does that make sense? So the space we are in, the way we relate to the elements are an awful lot more to do with our non-verbal communication and our real communication than the words we might use. So we say one thing, but we mean another. And the elements have everything to do with that. So now imagine that you began to access the elements within yourself, and you began to access the elements outside of yourself, and that you started to align yourself. And a really nice way to describe it is what would happen if you just had one ground within yourself. Physically, emotionally, mentally, rooms, people in your life, situations in your life, is in all of them, you only stood on one ground in yourself. And that ground was constant. And then you were fluid, and so there's life force in it. There's the ability to expand energy and create more space, more energy, because you're in the one ground and you're living in that one ground. And it's just an uplifting sensation for you. It's an uplifting experience. It's an enlivening experience. That's the power of what we're talking about. But look, we can still have a bit of fun while we're doing it. So think about the value of that, and the value of moving into spaces that you wouldn't normally be used to, opening up to just new sensations in your body. Also means letting go of a little bit of your inhibitions. It's your willingness to engage in it. The only limitation in it is the one you put on it. So think about that with regards to your limitations. Just be willing to open up a little space. And if you just open up a little space every day, that's going to bring you a lot more energy. Okay, simply put. Now, the central nervous system is got your brain stem, central nervous system, all the nerve threads coming out through your body, and then the nerve endings. You can, as I said, imagine just seeing your nervous system is all those strings. Now imagine again, they're an instrument. You're just playing the instrument. Now what would happen if you consciously began to play the instrument of your central nervous system? One of the things you start to notice is that there are nerve plexus. There are areas of the nervous system that lots of nerve endings gather together. So again, you recognize those as chakras. There's different chakra points in the body. There's different points of nerve plexus in the body. Different nerve plexus where there's lots of nerve endings. And those nerve endings are like, when you begin to activate them, they're attuned to a particular frequency. So your root chakra is about the present moment. So when you physically center yourself, you energetically center yourself, you mentally center yourself, what you're doing is you're bringing your awareness to bear in the moment itself. You're centering yourself in your root chakra. So if I was to ask you a question, who are you when you're continuously present? That's your personal truth. Who are you when you're continuously present? So when you come into that moment, okay, now how do you stay in the present moment? Like how do you constantly stay in it without getting confused? How do you actually keep your focus and stay in it? People think it's exhausting. It is unless you know how. And one of the things is the elements. What would happen if you come into the earth element of yourself and then the earth element of the environment around you, and that you found one ground? So there's all these things that can happen in the moment, how you feel, what you think, all the sensations, the stuff going on in your life. There can be 101 things going on. If we treat all of those as separate and individual, it's like we have to create a ground in each one. It's exhausting. What would happen if you found the ground to stand on, the earth element within you, where you found the one ground? And that ground is the ground that keeps you in the moment. It's perpetually in the moment itself. That's the power of it. And again, you're raising energy. But remember, we have a bit of fun while we're doing it, but that's how powerful it is. Now, how do you keep that ground? That sounds exhausting. It's not if you bring the flow state in. Think about the flow state is like an infinity circle. Something that just keeps going and going. The flow state is an infinity circle. Now look at the body. The body, all the joints are an expression of a circle. All the joints are an expression of a circle, or we can do figure of eights, up two together, figure of eights, or a circle. Both are infinity circles. So the flow state its nature is an infinity circle. So now when you center yourself and stay in your center of gravity, is you've got effort and then you've got no effort. You've got effort and you've got no effort. Effort and then release. So that's what keeps you continually in the ground when you allow yourself to flow in the ground. Now you're coming into a power that moves in an infinite space. So as long as you stay in the flow state, it's very, very easy for you to stay grounded. And then the flow state is very, very powerful because again, it raises energy through the ground for you. It keeps you grounded, gives you more energy. Same with the heat. Your ability to expand and contract, your ability to breathe the moment. You're energetically centering your life force in the moment. It's very, very powerful. Mentally, is you're now focusing your mind on the moment. You're not trying to control everything that's going on in the moment. What you're doing is you're focusing on the ground itself. So there's the physical ground of your body. There's the energetic ground in your breath, your energetic body. And then mentally, we would have said this before, if the room you're in now is your mind, look at the window, that's the mind screen, that's your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. So you can detach from them. Then you realize that the mind field, like the physical room you're in now, is the mind field. So when people talk about opening the mind, it's coming into the mind field, and all of a sudden you get this wonderful sense of expansion, spaciousness of it. And then you realize there's a part of your mind that's not thought, but awareness itself, so the watcher, the listener, the feeler. And that's you coming into the ground of your mind. So when you're focused on the ground of your mind, you're coming from a place of listening, from a place of watching with clarity, from a place of feeling. There's a clearness in it all. Is you're coming into the consciousness within your mind and you're grounding yourself in your consciousness. And then you're letting it all flow. And you're in the spaciousness of it. Does that make sense? And what you're doing is you're coming into your root chakra and then you're raising energy and consciousness through it by activating the elements. Woohoo! So mastering the elements is super important. Super important. So on this session, I know I'm saying a lot, on this session, we're looking at using the elements to raise energy. But as we get more into it, as we get more, this is just the central nervous system, as we get into it, we start to raise energy more specifically in the central nervous system, through the nerve plexus in the central nervous system. And we start to move the energy up through them consciously, to do it with will. But you've got to work on the elements themselves and be in the freedom of them. You got to let yourself just be free and a little bit playful. So dropping a little bit of inhibitions every day is moving into that freedom a little bit more. But that's what we're doing. Now, air. What does air do for us? A lovely way to describe this is think about a bird flying across the ocean. How does it do that? Because you can't constantly keep flapping the wings. It's exhausting. So what the bird does is the bird flies high, looks for a current of air, and then it glides. And it catches that current of air, and it'll go for as long as it does. And then what it will do is it will go up again, find another current of air, and it will glide again. And essentially, the bird is surfing. No different than surfing on the waves. The bird is surfing the waves of the currents of air. So it's that gliding motion. So the more we get into it, actually we play around now. Is what I want you to do is put your arms out just a little bit. Remember, active hands, active feet, active lungs. There are 3 things I'm teasing out with you today. And then look, in that little micro floating in your knee, gives you that lovely sense of expansion, but also gives you that lovely sense of gliding. And what I want you to do is just breathe nice and slow and deep. And as you reach the peak of your inhale, don't overbreathe, just breathe fully, but not tightly. Is come to the peak of your inhale and let yourself stay in the pause at the peak of the inhale, just for a couple of moments, and feel yourself gliding in that tone. Same on the exhale. As you exhale, nice and slow and steady. As you find yourself coming to the end of your exhale, don't be squeezing out, just come to it easily. And at the end of your exhale, just feel yourself glide a little bit more. And you can play around with the arms to feel that floating, gliding sensation. If the arms get tired, move them around. If I stay here, I'll be tired after a minute or two. See this here? I could do this for far longer because I keep opening the space. I keep the energy flowing. I'm not letting my muscles get locked into something that it gets tired in. Because before it gets tired, I move it around. So then think about the ability to extend out the ground, to extend out the flow, to extend out the heat, the expansion and contraction is my ability to glide. And my ability to glide means that I could fly across an ocean if I could fly. But I can't fly like a bird, but I can fly internally within myself. I can be that light. I can move in that. Now what would happen if you found yourself gliding in your body through the day? Or gliding through your breath in the energetic, you're gliding through your emotional states. You're gliding through your thoughts. You bring in a thought, you need to concentrate, you want to bring the energy up into it, you want to focus the mind. And once you reach the frequency you want to concentrate at, glide. Just let yourself just catch the waves in it. And you will be able to concentrate far, far longer than you would normally because you're being light in it. You're just gliding. It's super. It's really, really uplifting. So again, just play around with the micro moves of it. And the more we get into it, we're doing it in the muscles of the body. We're doing it in the joints of the body. We're doing it in the fascia, the connective tissue in the body. We're doing it right through to the spine and right through to the central nervous system. We're doing it at a physical level, an energetic level, a mental level, and then we're fully immersing ourselves in it in the moment. We're in the moment of it. We're connecting to the physical earth element. Then there's the water element. Then there's the fire element. Then there's the air element. And then the fifth is the ether. Ether is the space that all happens in. So ultimately what we're doing is we're mastering space. We're mastering how to create space. We're mastering how to move through space. And this body, physical body, occupies a space. And I'm moving through that space continuously as long as I'm in this body. When this body is over and it depletes and returns back to the elements, the space that this body occupies will be replaced with more energy, more life. Life will flow into the space my body's holding right now. That's the truth of it. That's the way it works. And we're living in this one environment, this one space, and every time the space reappears, life flows into it. And here we are living in that space. And we're moving through it. Moving through the space that is my physical body. Energetically, we can hold much more energetic space, but I'm now moving through that energetic space that I hold, that I call my life. Then there's my mental space, my mind that holds the space that is my life, my inner space. I'm holding that space so that I'm giving my body all the space it needs to feel whatever it needs in the way it needs to feel it so that it can be free. It can be free in the space. So I let go of the suffering, I let go of the hurt, I see what I need to see, and then I move into that space. My body just keeps evolving and growing in that space. I'm flowing. I'm in the living experience of my body. I'm embodied. At an emotional level, same thing. I'm allowing myself to feel whatever it is I need to feel in the way that I need to feel it, full expression, so that I can see what I need to see. I let go of my suffering. I let go of my hurt. I see that connection of truth. I see the truth of what I need to see, and then I absorb into that truth. I become that knowing. I meditate. The knower, the knowledge, as the knower absorbs into the knowledge, that knowledge becomes knowing. I come into the knowing of myself. I'm in the living wisdom of myself, and I'm embodying that at a physical level, and an energetic, emotional level, equally at a mental level. Giving yourself the space to think about whatever it is that you need to think about, in the way you need to think about it. So what you're doing is you're giving your mind, your thoughts, the space to figure themselves out, to undo the knots, so that you can let go of the mental suffering, let go of the hurts, and reconnect into that part of our mind that is our consciousness itself. And then those natural states of our humanity, we can live the authenticity of our humanity, our human experience. But at the same time, we can be in the freedom of the universal experience too. So the earth that is me is the earth that's all around me. They are neither one or two, they are just one. They're one and the same, essentially. And the more we experience that, is the more we feel the purpose and the meaning of things. What do I mean by that? Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be felt. That's the simplicity of it. A child wants those two things. They want to be seen, they want to be felt. If they have those two things, children are very happy. And to be honest, everybody, no matter what age you are, wants to be seen, wants to be felt. And all the things that are most important to us in our lives, if we're seen in them and we're felt in them, is we will feel the connection more. It will feel the greater meaning and purpose of them. If we're not seen so much or we're not felt so much, it's much more difficult to feel the connection of the things that are most important to us. That's the simple truth. So the more we come into the one ground within ourselves, the more we see ourselves and feel ourselves, the more we can communicate our true selves to the world, and in that, the world can see us. The world can feel us, and we follow the ground that mirrors. So the ground that is within me is the ground that I follow outside of me. And I'm following my path. I'm following the authenticity of my path. How do you know? Because I'm following the one ground, and I see it, and I feel it, and I know it. It's super. Now let yourself flow into it. Let yourself expand in the path. Let yourself be light in the path and keep the path open. That's the power of it. And then doing that through the different chakras allows us to begin to refine ourselves, but then also our core values, the things that are most important to us in our lives. So again, you can see there's a lot to cover. On this course, all we're doing is looking at how to generally raise the energy, what's required for that, and then we're going to use the elements to do it. So it's a beginner's course. There'll be intermediate, advanced, and a mastering course, but this course is not a course. These courses will not be a course to sit on their own, because this course will layer into the chakra courses. This course will layer into your posture courses. It'll layer into your breathing course. It'll layer into your meditation. It's all one and the same. It fits in. Is what you do on the mat will be the same as what you do off the mat. So you're in this course, you get a beautiful sense of raising energy and the elements, but then notice how that directly affects your experience in all the aspects of your practice. And it's super. We'll get into that conversation. But for now, let's lie down. We've been standing for the whole session. Let's lie down. Lie down flat on your back. I'll just take you through a short relaxation where I'll talk you through the 5 elements in Yoga Nidra. So you're flat on your back, let your feet be hip width apart, let the feet rest out. Hands down by the side of your body, take them out a little bit, whatever's comfortable, palms turned upwards. And then close your eyes and just take a quick moment to just scan your body. You just make any adjustments you feel you need to do. I'm going to ask you to lie still in a moment, and we're doing Yoga Nidra, it's like conscious sleep. So the last thing you do before you fall asleep at night is you actually lie still. You get into bed, you shuffle about, you find your spot. When you got that sweet spot, then you just let yourself be in an immobile position. So once you've found that spot where you can lie still, now allow yourself to be in an immobile position. Lie still. And it's like if you're in bed, if you need to shuffle and adjust a little bit, that's fine. That's part of letting go. So that's fine. Now from here, I want you to notice a couple of things. With your eyes closed, is it gives you a turning in sensation. You're looking in, you're listening in, you're feeling it. And then I want you to begin to focus a little bit more on your breathing. And I want you to feel a bit of movement in your navel, a bit of movement in your intercostal muscles, and a bit of movement in your upper chest. All three. Don't worry about the depth of your breath. Just have all three areas move a little bit on the inhale and the exhale. So you're using your full lung, but you're not always having to use your full capacity. And remember, like the waves, your lungs move in waves. And sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're smaller. So you just want to be feeling all of your lung in the wave, whatever the depth of the wave is. And then in that, notice when you inhale, it expands your body, it opens up a little bit. When you exhale, you get that sense of resting, letting go into your body. So some part of your body lets go when you exhale. So just notice in your own time, you're just observing, let it come to you. Don't go looking for it, just breathe. In your own time, that lovely expansion. And when you exhale, feel that contraction and then feel the letting go. You're going to feel the weight of your body and then you're going to feel some part of your body, it's like a dropping sensation. It just releases a little bit. And when it does, go with it. Be in the spontaneous moment with it. And when you inhale, again, there's going to be some space in your body opens up. As you exhale, you're letting go again. And it's a surprise. And enjoy the surprise of it. And when you sense what's letting go, just go with it. You're letting go, the legs get a little heavier, your arms get a little heavier, your torso gets a little heavier, your head gets a little heavier. Your skin begins to spread out into the floor a little bit more. Your muscles begin to soften, your joints begin to release. All the systems and functions of your body are slowly, gradually calming down. And the natural weight of your body is coming in. And your body is naturally moving towards the earth more. And at one point you get a beautiful dropping sensation where that sense of letting go becomes fluid. So now the more you move towards the earth, the flow comes in, you start to flow towards the earth. You'll feel the muscles spreading out, you get the expansion of the spreading out into the floor. As the weight of your body is being released into the floor, also the floor is taking the weight of your body. So at one point you get that beautiful connection between your body and the floor, and then your body starts to feel lighter. You get a lovely gliding sensation, there's a lovely ease that comes in, and you find yourself just in this spaciousness of your body. It's absolutely gorgeous. And notice that beautiful connection between your body and the floor, and just release yourself into it. Let yourself go into the earth. Let yourself flow into it. Let the body just expand into the floor. Let the floor come up to support you a little bit. So it's almost like you feel like you're lying on a soft mattress. It's like you feel like you'd be sinking into the floor. And the floor is coming up to cup you. It takes your weight. You feel lighter. And then you start to float in that. It's a really gliding sensation. These beautiful waves of sensation just moving through your body. And you feel those waves of sensation moving through the spaciousness of your body. That's the ether, the space of your body. You get to feel it all at once. You're in the full spaciousness. And we'll talk about how that happens in the mind in another session. Your mind is expanding. Your consciousness is expanding. Your energy is expanding. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I want you to continue on in that relaxation for as long as you have. Okay, if you want to lie there another 30 seconds, do. If you want to lie there for another 30 minutes, if you have the time, take it. And just love how beautiful the experience is. When you're coming out, all you do is start to breathe a little deeper, moving your fingers and toes, give yourself a little stretch, make sure you're back in the moment, and that's you back. But again, in your own time. This is a wonderful session, so if you've got the time, is keep going into the bliss. It's beautiful. So now, thank you very much, and thank you for going along with it. You can see where we're going. It's going to be a lot of fun, big journey, lots of little steps along the way.